The luteal phase is that last week before your period hits. And so that is like your progesterone dominant, and progesterone oftentimes feels very like cleansing, like purging. Like I mean, literally physically and figuratively, like your period phase is the shedding.
Yeah.
But it's the week prior when you're like, I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore. I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to burn everything down. Like, that week is the week just prior. Hey, Renae, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this conversation.
I know. And honestly, like it feels really weird to say, hey, Renae, because I feel like I'm talking to myself. And the fact that your name is spelled the same way as mine is really abnormal.
It's true. It was our instant connection. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
we have to know each other. This has to happen.
I know. It's interesting. Like as there's two of us that in the hospital in the NICU that I work at, one of the managers, his name is Renae, and then my name's Renae. And so people always be like, have you cleared this with Renae? And my ears always pop up. And I'm like, oh wait, not my Renae, not me. Like it's somebody else, Renae. But I'm sure if you were like a Jessica, you just get used to hearing your name all the time. But I don't feel that. I feel like it's pretty uncommon.
I think so too. Yeah. I don't hear too many Renae's. I've only met a couple in my life. So we're pretty special is what we're getting at.
Yes. Do you know how your parents came up with your name?
You know what? That's a great question, and I don't really know that. I think it was my mom wanted to name me Jenny or Jennifer.
Okay.
And they didn't go with that. And I know that my middle name is my grandma's name, and my mom actually spelled it incorrectly. It's supposed to have 2 N's, but it only has 1. And so she's like, I didn't spell that right. So I know that part, but not exactly sure where my first name came from. But I like it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I know my dad, if he had said that if I were a girl or a boy, he wanted to name me Rad. So my name would have been Rad Ryan. But they didn't know, like obviously at the time. And I don't know, something like my grandpa was watching the news during the time I was born. It was like a newscaster with the name Renae, and somehow it trickled down from there, but just stuck. So,
yeah.
But yes, I am glad that I'm not a Rad Ryan.
I feel like you could own that though.
Yeah, probably. It would have been it would have been a rad name actually, but anywho, well, thanks so much for coming on. I know aside from our names, we're going to have such a great conversation. I know I don't know you very well. Like we kind of just met and kind of connected and things. And so I would love to know a little bit about like, what has the journey in entrepreneurship and things, what has that been like for you? How did you get to where you are right now?
Yeah, well, I struggled with food and just addiction in general. I have a very all or nothing addictive personality. I have for my whole life. And it ended up manifesting into drinking and binge eating. And I spent, close to 15 years just kind of trying to claw my way out of that and ultimately just find like peace within myself, honestly, is what it was, is that I just never felt settled. I never felt like I could calm down. And even today, honestly, I'm not chill. I'm not a chill person. I like to have a lot of things going on. However, I don't have to be self-destructive anymore. I know myself well enough to know like, oh, this is kind of getting out of control. I should probably look at this. And I don't have to essentially like abuse myself in the way that I once did. But I went through, a couple rounds of eating disorder treatment. I went through a couple rounds of drinking rehab and just everything to kind of find some balance and just levelness in my life. And so I worked through all of that. And then I just kept thinking like, okay, I feel like I can do something with everything that I've been through, because I struggled with alcoholism and bulimia and binge eating for so long, and that I made it to the other side. And I was just like, I have to share this with other people, because I know there's other people that are stuck in this just like personal hell, honestly, is what it is that you cannot escape yourself, and you're living with constant self-doubt and inner spiraling, and just it's exhausting. And so that was when I found coaching, and I ended up working with a coach and then studying coaching. And I was like, oh my gosh, of all of the things that I've done in my life, and granted, a lot of it was because I was in a position where I was able to hear that. Had someone have come to me, 5 or 7 years prior that I just was so in it that I wouldn't have been able to learn anything. But for where I was at, I picked up coaching and learned about it. And it was just like, it truly changed my life and continues to today. And that was
Mhm.
when I kind of decided, like, I think I want to do this. And I
Yeah.
launched my business in 2018 or 2019. And I just feel like entrepreneurialism ship aligns with my personality too, of loving to have a lot of things going on because I get bored really easily. And so there
Yeah.
is some like excitement in the not knowing, and also just like the ownership of
Mhm.
I'm the one responsible for this. And I really like that. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I landed here.
That's so cool. Do you know by chance, do you know much about the Enneagram?
I'm a 7.
Okay.
Wait,
Okay.
wait, which one's that? I'm a
The 7,
generator. That's human design.
that's human
And then
design.
yes, and then the Enneagram, I'm a 7, which is like the enthusiast, I believe.
Like the fun, like
Yes.
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was interesting. Like I'm pretty sure I'm like an 8, 9, somewhere in there. And somebody
Yeah.
had told, I'm like, not 100% sure, but somebody was like, mostly you go by what is that core desire. And for me, it's like, I want to have the control over my time, my energy, my money, like all those things. Like I want that freedom. And so it kind
Mhm.
of was a little bit of like what you were talking about there in terms too of that sense of like, I love to create. I love to do. I love to have a lot of things going.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to be the one deciding them, not somebody
Yeah.
else deciding it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Same.
I don't think I could work in like a high stakes job where somebody else was placing all of these like demands on me, but when it feels like it feels so good for me and I want to create this, like and I want to do it, it's
Mm.
like I can handle all those different
Yeah.
things, but it has to be
Yeah.
something that I want. Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
the enthusiast in me, is that for me a big thing, because I'm just kind of now coming out of a little bit of a slump that I was in for like 2 months, where I was like, I mean, I talked about it openly on my podcast and on my channel, but I was having like a mild midlife crisis, mental
Mhm.
crisis, identity crisis, which I think is so normal because,
Yes.
there's this idea that we should just do one thing and be happy with it forever and ever and ever.
Mhm.
And it's just so unrealistic. And so I was
Yeah.
kind of processing it out loud, which I was like, there are people that are going to think I'm insane and I should not be talking about this. That's fine. I mean, I lost quite a few followers throughout the last couple of months, but I was like, I mean, this is real life, and I'm not put on
Mhm.
this planet to show up and be like everything's perfect all the time. That doesn't mean that we have to air everything and talk about everything, and that's not what I was doing, but more just being honest, like I'm just reassessing. Like, do I
Yeah.
still want these things? And
Yeah.
I think we should do that a couple times a year, honestly. I think
Mhm.
we should assess, like, do I want these hours? Do I want this job? Do I want these relationships? Do I want these clothes? All of these
Mhm.
things, because we change. We gain new information. Our bodies change. Our brains change. Our environment changes. And when we don't look at these things, we're stuck in this life that doesn't fit and feels awful. Then we wonder why we're eating, why we're drinking, why we're depressed, why
Mhm.
we aren't working out, why we're not taking care of ourselves. It's like, oh, none of that stuff fits anymore. Like, we
Yeah.
have to continually be looking and actively choosing these things in our life, which is what I just came out of. And I'm feeling like it was like the shedding. And I feel so
Yes.
much better now, even though
Yeah.
nothing's really changed. Like, that's the insane thing, is that I went through this whole thing and nothing, I mean, I rebranded my podcast, but like, it's all pretty much the same. I just needed an internal shift, is what I needed.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like I mean, it reflects very closely like the menstrual cycle. Like, I really legit feel like the menstrual cycle is like symbiotic to everything we do in our lives. But it's like, for me personally, like every single month, it's that moment of like, is everything aligning with me? Is everything fitting? Is this where I want to be? Right. And like, I don't know what my dog is whining at, but he's staring at my kitchen counter,
Me
going
too.
like, I want something. Like, there must be leftover crumbs or something on the kitchen counter. And he's like, I can
Yeah.
smell it up there. Please let me
Mhm.
have it. So if you can hear him whining, that's what's happening. He's literally like standing. I can look down the hall and like see him standing at the kitchen counter, just looking at the top of the counter. But I think it's so important. And it's fascinating that you kind of bring this up too, because I've had this last luteal phase for me, it was a really, really rough one. And
Okay,
I,
I'm a woman, and I find I
yeah.
find woman stuff very confusing.
Okay.
When
So
is the luteal phase?
That is
I
the
should know
week.
this stuff and I don't.
Yes, you should. We'll get you all hooked up. The luteal phase is that last week before your period hits. So it's like your hormones shift from the first half of the month to the second half of the month. And so that is like your progesterone dominant, and progesterone oftentimes feels very, like you said, that like cleansing, like purging. Like I have literally got to, literally figurative or like physically and figuratively, like your period phase is the shedding.
Yeah.
But it's the week prior when you're like, I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore. I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to burn everything down. Like, that week is the week just prior. And so for me, most of the time I run through it pretty smoothly. But like when you have other factors, stress factors, like come on you, like this one, I had a breast biopsy that week. I had my husband out of town. I had extra kids. I had like all these things, like, right. It was just a heavy, heavy, heavy week. And then out of that week, I was like, I don't know if I really, the same, like, I don't know if I align with what I'm doing anymore. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I don't know. But just sitting with that and like allowing myself to be in the what if, like, what is, like, is this really what I want? Has allowed me to then now say the same thing as you. Is like, I think I've evolved. And even when I went through my program just recently, like I went through all the lessons, I was like, if I were to do this again, I don't know that these would be the lessons I would put in. I don't know if this is the flow I would do it. I don't know if it would be all of this thing. So it created this sense of like, okay, if the evolved person of me today, if I were to recreate this program right now, what would that look like? And just giving myself the permission to do that, and knowing when I created that program, it was, 3 years ago. Like that was for the version of me, the evolution of me at that point in time and who I was serving at that point in time. But now I feel like I'm in a whole different season, a whole different space, serving a different audience. It's okay to allow that to evolve. And then it also made me look back of like, wow, there's been little signs all along. Like it stopped selling quite the same. Like the energy behind it wasn't the same. The people weren't getting the same transformations. Like everything kind of was shifting with it. I'm like, I think that that's the journey. And I think it's giving ourselves the permission to do that. I think in the online space, there's so much push on like your one thing and sell your one thing and just keep selling that one thing over and over and over again. One, that was always hard for me because like you, I like to come up with new things and I'm like new ideas. But even now it's like, okay, this one thing, it's time for it to grow too. Like it allow that to grow. And I think it's just not talked enough about in the space of what that looks like and how do we really lean into that in a way that does allow us to expand and grow.
I think some of the stuff that I've been wrestling with, I don't think this is what's been going on, but I think historically when I've wanted to change, this is something I've wrestled with, which is I have been judgmental of other people that have changed. And so then because I didn't get it. And I was just like, of course they're changing. Of course they're shifting. Of course they're doing this. And I would just be kind of judgy about it. And now that I'm in my own change, I'm like, I get it now. That's why, right? Like I get it now. And it's just, you can't see stuff. And I think this just happens with getting older too, is that at least for me, is that I like to think that I'm less judgmental because I know more now, right? It's like the 22-year-olds that think they know everything. And then, we're like, I didn't actually know anything. And so now when I watch other people change, and this is also just what coaching has allowed me to do too, is just letting people do whatever they want and not having to be triggered by it or annoyed by it or angry about it, but just be like, okay, they're on their own journey and so am I. And if I don't like their choices, who cares? Like, who cares? And if people don't like my choice, who cares? Like, it really just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's like, can you go to bed at night and feel really good about whatever you're deciding to do? Because that's all that matters, because you can be stuck in something that looks quote unquote good on paper. But if you're miserable, it's like, God, is it really worth it? And will it even work? And I don't think so. And I think you're that same way too, where the energy has to be behind it for things to work. I think that's how most of it is, especially if you're in business, but even just dating or even just in any job. Like if your energy sucks, nobody wants to be around you.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's interesting that you bring that up too, because I think I think I've grown in that way of like becoming less judgmental and just like to each their own. Like we can all do our own things. And it's become even more starkly clear of that with now having a teenager who I don't think that I think that she's very sensitive and intuitive. And so what I think she's picking up on, it comes across as judgmental. And she and I've had this conversation. I was like, I think what you're perceiving something, but instead of interpreting it as like, this is what I'm perceiving, it comes off as judgment and criticism of like, oh, I don't like this person. Or like this, and this, and this. And so we've had lots of conversations around it, but it's fascinating to watch. And I don't know if it's a cultural generational thing, but that generation, how judgmental they are of others, of like that person's clothes, that person's hair, that person's whatever. And then also, he's chewing on a nail file, but I'm going to let it go. But like also how judgmental, like they feel like other people are of them. And so it's interesting, you know, when we're driving in the car, are they like, why did that person just give me that look? Why did they look at me like that way? You know, and it's like, I can guarantee that that person probably didn't even give you a thought. Like you were not on their radar whatsoever, but that interpretation of it is of like that. And so, like I said, I don't know if it's just age, like you said, like I've gotten older. I do think that there is, people say that like once you hit your 40s, it's like the I don't give a fuck era. Like, who cares, you know?
Yeah.
And so I do think that there is some element and some truth to that, that you kind of get to this place of realizing like, I am coming back to myself. This is who I am. I don't care if other people think it's weird. You know, my daughter was like, she saw me doing this dance somewhere, whatever. And she's like, Mom, I'm embarrassed for you. And I was like, you mean you're embarrassed? And she's like, no, I'm embarrassed for you. Like should be embarrassed of that. And so you're embarrassed of you. And I was like, honey, you can't have secondary embarrassment. Like if I'm not embarrassed, you can't be embarrassed for me. Like I'm just happy who I am right now. Like there is 0 ounce of embarrassment right here. So if you're feeling any embarrassment, that's your own embarrassment. So it's just fascinating to kind of see that. I think age does do it, but I also think that a lot of the work that you and I probably both have done has been a big part of that evolution too. It's not just age.
Yeah. I mean, you could not pay me to go back to my teens or 20s. You couldn't. I mean, it was a nightmare. And you know, I do think it comes with age, but I do like you just said, think a lot of it does have to do with taking ownership of your own mindset and you know, there are a certain, I know plenty of adults going through life that are quite, everyone is talking about them and everything is about them, and it's just like, until you really want to feel a different way, you're gonna hold on to that narrative. And I think a lot of people take their last breath thinking the world is out to get them and woe is me and everyone hates me. And it's like, man, you're just not that great. Like you're just not, nobody's cares. And even if they do think about you, it's for approximately 37 seconds and then they go back to thinking about themselves, right? Like a lot of women think this when they're in the gym, where they're like, oh my God, people are going to look at me and look at the weights that I'm using and look at my cellulite and think that I'm fat or think I don't belong here. Or it's like, they might, because I feel like the gym is a particularly judgy place. But if they are, most people that are at the gym are like very full of themselves. And so even if they do think of you, it's for 17 seconds until they go back to looking at their own body in the mirror. And that's just the way it is most of the time in life, is that, because we are naturally judgy humans. And so that's impossible to avoid. You can't avoid judgment, but it's just like, okay, I'm just not going to let this dictate the rest of my day. Whereas I feel like as teens or people that have never learned to take ownership of their emotions and of their own life, they let that, they like get off on it. They're just like, they can't not obsess about it.
Yeah. I also think that there's some element to that new, was it like the newness, like that lack of confidence in an area, I think does contribute to that too. Because, you know, I've seen those statements around floating on social media that are like the billionaire isn't going to look at you starting your business and see you as, you know, less than, or like criticize or judge you for starting a business, right? Like they're not going to judge you where you're at, but in that role of like starting a business, when you compare yourself to the giants and the greats of what's been done, there's that sense of like, oh, I don't want them to see me because I'm afraid of that judgment. When, you know, and I look at it too, like, I think there's some element of that too, is like the more that we mature, the more that we grow, the more that we expand, like we look back at the people that are behind us less with like, oh, judgment and you're not good enough, and the more of like, good for you, like get on the journey, go on the road. Like, so whether it's, you know, billionaires or people in the gym, like you imagine that the people are in the gym working out that have like the mega flexed abs, whatnot, they didn't start that way. They came in just like you and they've put in the hours and they know the journey that it took, versus when we're in that beginning phase, I think sometimes we just don't perceive that. Like we see it just in that judgment space too.
Yeah. I think the quote that comes up for me is that you'll never be criticized by someone doing more than you. And that's
Yeah,
what, you know, you just won't. You're only it's easier to throw shade from the cheap sheet. Cheap. Oh my gosh, I've tried to
totally.
say this before on podcasts and I can never get it out. Seats. There we go.
There you go.
I have to
Yeah,
really think about that one.
it is so true. It is like the people that are trolling you on Instagram or the people that are throwing shade in life or whatever, they're the people that are unwilling to do the things that you are doing, essentially.
Mhm.
I find a lot of the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. What is, like, if you were to go back to that beginning version of you,
Mhm. Which
what do
one?
you, I mean, yeah.
There's been so many.
Whichever phase comes just
Yeah.
intuitively,
Okay.
what do you wish that you knew then that you know now? Like, what would you go back and tell that version of you?
I think, boy, one thing that comes to my mind, but you can use this against yourself too, but one thing that comes to my mind is that discomfort won't kill you. Like, I was always so scared of being uncomfortable that I would stop, you know, and this is what I mean by people can take this and use this against them is like being hungry, you know, or compulsively
Mhm.
exercising. They're like, no pain, no gain, right? Like you can
Yeah.
always use everything against you. And that's not how I intend that statement, but more so of, you know, having a goal for yourself and knowing that it will be uncomfortable. And I think that's the biggest thing because I would quit so many things because I would think like it wouldn't work as fast as I wanted. And so I would just jump ship
Mhm.
instead of
Mhm.
seeing it all the way through. And I think that that's something that I wish I could go back and redo
Mhm.
or have a better skill at is navigating discomfort. And even like
Yeah.
the thing that whatever you want to call, I just came out of for the last 2 months of figuring out what I want is like I didn't know how long it was going to last. And we
Mhm.
always want it to be over within like 7 seconds. Just never. It's
Mhm.
like, this
Yesterday.
might be 7 weeks or it might be 7 months. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. And it sucks to not know because we just want to feel better and we want more clarity. But because of the things that I've gone through before, you know, when I was just in it, I was like, okay, this is uncomfortable. And I wish that I weren't. I wish I just had all the answers right now. I now have the ability to be able to move through uncertainty and murky water and just figuring out what's next without completely stopping, completely blowing everything up or, you know, going in a
Mhm.
complete opposite direction and just kind of riding that wave through because it always passes. Like
Yeah.
that heaviness, the uncertainty, the depression, the confusion, it always passes and you always get to the other side. And so, you know, I never was able to do that. So I would just always shift gears like every 4 days because I was like, no, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. And so
Yeah.
that's definitely something I wish I would have had a better idea of.
Yeah. Do you find that you're one of like a very intuitive person, or do you feel like you function more in like that logic thinking space?
No, way more intuitive. Like I'm very much like I just like the listen to my gut, you know, just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like curious because you sound a lot like me. I'm like, oh, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And I've said to myself multiple times, I'm like, if I had just stuck with the one thing and like leaned all the way into it or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I like the jumping. I like the newness. And my husband and I joke about it. Like even things around the house. I'm like, I get an idea. I'm like, I want to repaint the bedroom or
My
whatever. And
gosh.
I'll get all the supplies. We have legit this wall to my left
Yeah.
is half painted and it's probably been half painted for about 5 years because my
My God.
husband will not touch the paint. Like the painting is like off of his thing. But it's like I got the entire rest of the room painted. It probably took me all day long. And then I went to bed. And then the next day I'm like, I don't want to keep painting anymore.
I'm over it.
I'm over it. And
God,
so
I relate.
granted, this wall has a big window. And so it's like literally probably just like 12 inches across the top of the window. That's it. Like it's not a huge, it probably would have taken me less than 10 minutes had I just like buckled through and got through it. But it's this visual reminder all the time to me of that energy of like, I love the creation. I love the newness. I love the change. I love the momentum of making things go. And then my husband so graciously is the one that comes in and keeps things going and finishes it. And so we
Yeah.
make a great life partner and great life match. And I actually was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, I need that for my business. I need to be in that visionary space all the time. And like the ideas and that like get things going, the momentum, like I am so good at momentum, but
Yeah.
that sustained execution over a long period of time is not my strong suit. Like that's not where I love to be. And I think part of like you are a generator too. I think that's part of the generator energy of like, we love to create and we love to put new things out there. I forget the question where I was going with that. Oh, I was going to ask like, so for me, it's kind of where I've been is like really trying this last year or two is learning to sit with, is this intuition? Is this really my intuition speaking? Or is this the part of me that loves just to make change?
Yeah.
And how do I differentiate the two? And so that it's like, I'm not self sabotaging myself and taking myself on these spirals all the time. And how do I actually stretch that muscle a little bit of like really guiding of like, is my intuition telling me it's time to shift and change? Or is this just like, I get the quick dopamine hit of something new all the time?
Yeah.
And that's been something I've been really leaning into of like, how do I keep that momentum in an area versus just being like, oh, my intuition told me to go this way. And it's like, well, maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't intuition. Maybe it's that dopamine that like you said,
Yeah.
juggling a bajillion things at the same time. Even this week, my kids, one of my kids finished baseball. So like baseball season's wearing down. This is the last week of volleyball. And on Monday and Tuesday this week after school, we had nothing, which is not normal for us. Like usually it's like every day of the week, we're going from school pickup till 8 o'clock at night. And so Monday and Tuesday this week without baseball, I was like, wow, what are we going to do? We're going to get really bored. And it was
Yeah.
this weirdness of like all season long, I've been craving like a day off. Like I just want a day off, you know? And now that we've had this day off, I'm like, we're going to get really bored really fast. And how uncomfortable that sitting and not doing anything is. And so it's kind of that energy of how do we balance all of that? Like, how do we balance that? Like, I wanted slow, but as soon as I slow down, it's like, ooh, this is really uncomfortable. I don't know if I like this. Like, we're craving that serotonin, dopamine, or not serotonin, the dopamine adrenaline hit all of the time.
Yeah. For me, I think when it comes to my business, something that I have found works for me is not putting all of that pressure on my business. Is
Uh-huh.
that, expecting my business or any relationship for that matter to fulfill every single need, right? And so I started going back to a running group in the mornings, and just that alone, I'm like, "Oh, I just needed this. I just
Yeah.
needed the connection. I needed the new conversation. I needed something different. I needed something more to look forward to instead of how do I make this one thing give me all the
Uh-huh.
excitement, all the fun, all the community, all the creativity, all the everything, and just be like, "Oh, this is the job of this, and
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna get these other needs met over here."
So
And I
good.
that's
Yeah.
been really helpful for me just because I am kind of psycho when it comes to that and just needing more all of the time. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's something that I've learned. And right now I have a 2-year-old, and for sitting and doing nothing is just also very hard for me. And so I was like, okay, I'm either gonna like blow this entire house up or I'm gonna have to do something. So I started doing needlepoint because I was like, I
Mm.
can still do something with my hands because I'm just in this house. We're just in this house all day, and it's so hard and uncomfortable. And so it's been a great exercise in moving through discomfort and realizing I
Uh-huh.
will not in fact die. I just
Mhm.
don't get to go for a run or work out or do a podcast or create a newsletter. Like I can't do those things because my brain, I just can't. So maybe I do a little needlepoint,
Yeah.
maybe watch a little more Miss Rachel, and we just wait until 5 o'clock when my husband gets home, and then we just make it another day, because this is one of those phases too
Yeah.
that I was talking about, where it's like this is also temporary. And so instead of blowing my whole life up, instead of, my husband's always like, I just know that I'm going to come home one day and you're just going to be gone because I'm just crazy. And he's like, you're going to abandon the whole family. And I was like, well, I'm not, but I am very much that way. And I think having a child, especially a 2-year-old, has been a good practice for me of just sitting with discomfort of like, I don't get to
Mhm.
do everything I want to do when I want to do it. And I'm very used to being impulsive, and I'm very used to acting on those emotions, and I can't right
Mhm.
now. And I think it's been good. I think it's been really helpful for me.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think it is. It's a lot of that impulse control, right? Like
Mhm.
it's funny is when I worked at the children's hospital, I used to work with kids with like autism and sensory stuff. And one of the things one of the activities, like goals, was like on impulse control. So
Yeah.
we would play games like red light, green light to help,
Yeah.
help them with the things like that and whatnot. But I think some of us are that type of person and we like that newness and that go. When's your birthday? I'm just kind of curious.
I'm a Sagittarius, December 1st.
No, we're totally I'm like Aries, Pisces, so we're opposite there. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's just your area of work, right? Is
yeah.
like the edge that you have that makes you phenomenal is also going to be your biggest flaw. And so that's something
Mhm.
that I've just like accepted about myself, is just, oh, yeah, this is sitting through something that's repetitive. It's like my skin is being burnt off with acid, is what it feels like. Like I don't even want to eat at the same restaurant. And my husband wants to go to the same place and he gets the same thing and he wants to sit in the same booth. And I'm like, my God, take my eyeballs out right now with a fork, because I'd rather do that than do the same thing over and over. But it's just like, that's my work. It's
Yeah,
just like, because there's always a new level of work. And it's like, this is, if to get something you don't already have is just like, shit, this is
yeah,
what I have to sit through. This is what I have to work on. This is what I have to learn to feel.
yeah. And I mean, going back to your conversation about judgment at the beginning, I'm assuming this had a lot to do with the work that you did for yourself and the work that you do with your clients now in that area of your body and like that judgment and like things like that. I imagine that letting go of that judgment of yourself is a huge part of that work that you do.
Absolutely. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just a constant war with myself, just constant. No, I was too skinny. I was too fat. I was too short. I was too loud. I was too chaotic. I was too boring. I mean, it was everything. It
Mhm.
was never enough. I always moved what I was supposed to be shooting for. And it was just,
Yeah.
in that, I mean, that had me in a chokehold for, 15 years, because it was just
Mhm.
constantly never good enough, just
Mhm.
never good enough.
Mhm.
And, I finally got to that point where I was like, I have been chasing this carrot of perfection in my demeanor, in my body, in my career for as long as I can remember. And I've never gotten closer. Like
Yeah.
I'm still the same distance I was. I've just wasted a ton of energy, time, and money. And so I got to that point. It was when my mom died, and she died very suddenly. And it was just like, all my mom has known from me since I was basically 13 years old is struggle. And that's all I have. That's all I have is just like,
Mhm.
Renee's upset. Renee's this. Renee's been dealing with this. And it's just been so frustrating. And that was like a big wake up call for me. I was like, I don't want to spend the next 15 years of my life doing the same thing, ending up in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
And that was when I really had to take a look at my personality, how I was managing my emotions, how I was showing up for myself, where I was bailing on myself. And it is uncomfortable and it's not fun, but like that was definitely kind of a pivotal point for me where I was like, I just can't keep
Mhm.
hating myself.
Mhm. That belief of like, I'm not good enough, I think is one of those ones that's like underlying almost every other belief, right? It's one I
Mhm.
think a
Yeah.
majority of people are dealing with. And we all, I think, one, get it like that's a wound that's created in different ways from, early childhood or whatever. And then it just builds upon it and we see the evidence of it. And then, so, like, that belief that I don't know that so many people are out there feeling like they would just be like blatantly saying like, I don't feel good enough. Like that's not my wound. That's not my belief, whatever. But if we were to dig and dig and dig and unravel belief after belief after
always.
belief,
Yeah.
I think that that's a very deep underlying one of not feeling good enough, and no matter, and how many people are struggling with that. I know, I like, for me, I mean, I know that's even my sister and I are like joking, like she has a tattoo that says enough. And I'm like, I feel like I need to, like everybody needs that reminder of enoughness, but it's not just a reminder. It's like an embodiment of that. Like we have to be able to get to that place where we like embody that feeling of like, I am enough. And I feel personally like that's still a journey I'm working on, right? I'm like still leaning into that. I'm trusting that I am enough and it's good enough and like my life is good enough and all those things. What do you feel like has been one of the biggest practices that's helped you lean into that?
This is maybe not the best answer, but like I kind of feel like not feeling like enough can also be a benefit because
it's true.
I mean, it's just being able to harness it in a way that isn't detrimental to you, because I don't know, I do feel like enough, but I feel like everything I do is also for fun and like to experience life. Like the reason I had a kid wasn't because I thought like becoming a mom was going to be some monumental thing and I would feel complete. I never ever had that thought like it's just my calling. I never had that. I was just like, this seems super fun and it seems like I want to experience life, and so let's do this. Let's have a kid. Let's just see what this is all about. And so I did. And that's, and it's not from not enoughness, but also, I feel like I would be lying if I sat here and was like, I'm completely okay with everything and I'm just, I don't know. I don't know that I'm the kind of person or have the kind of personality that is possible for me, because I am competitive and I like pursuing challenges and I like pushing myself. The difference is it's not coming from hate myself energy. It is coming more from curiosity and fun and like, what is possible? Could I actually do this? Maybe I could write a book. Maybe I could start a podcast. Maybe I could do a triathlon. Maybe I could be a mom. Let's try it. Right? And like that is just kind of how I like to live my life. And so it's not, and so it's taking that pressure off myself to have to be perfect and more going from like, what is possible? So that's kind of a weird way to answer it, because I don't feel like complete, but I also don't know that I want to, because I like trying new things and pushing myself, if that all makes sense.
Yeah, I think, I mean, ultimately, like what I'm hearing from you is like you feel worthy enough, like in who you are, to pursue and create and dream and go after new possibilities. So it's like in life, it's not like this sense of like, I'm just totally content. Everything's good. Everything's fine. I don't need to work. I don't need to grow. I don't need to do anything. Like everything's enough, right? Like,
right.
But you're coming from that place of like, I am worthy and whole and good enough to pursue a life that I feel like I want to pursue or that I love.
Yeah.
Like there's no part of you that feels like, oh, writing a book, I'm not sure I'm good enough for that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, totally. Yes. And even it's like separating my worth from those things. Like even just messing around with style to like make it maybe even more relatable if someone's listening that they're like, I'm not going to write a book, but it's like trying new clothes. My style has completely evolved over the last like 4 or 5 years, and it's so much more fun now. And I never wanted to do that because I was like, oh, what if I look dumb and those pants are so big and that shirt is so bright and those earrings are so bold and what are people going to think? And now it's just like, it's so fun. It's so fun, right? So it's basically being way more sold on myself and what I'm doing and not caring if someone else doesn't like it, which is kind of full circle to what we were talking about worrying about what other people think. Is just like, man, I just don't care. I just don't care because I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Then you're just like living into exactly what you want. It's funny you mentioned clothes. Like this morning, I was like, I put on these like linen flowy pants. And I would say in the past like 3 months, I've bought multiple pairs of different kinds of like linen flowy pants. And it was like, I think I'm just going to stay living in these. Like I went from the like tight, tight skinny jeans
Yeah.
And apparently those are out anyway. But I'm like, I just don't like the confinement of like feeling like I'm in a tight skinny jean right now. And then the same with the yoga pants. I'm like, I'm kind of over just wearing mom yoga pants every day.
Yeah.
So I've been in this like flowy linen kind of like hippie-ish type of pant style. And I was like, man, this feels really good. And I'm like, it was interesting to see, like, look at how my trends of
Yes.
clothing have shifted and changed. And I'm like, I'm in my flowy linen, like hippie pant era right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't care because
Yeah.
you love it. You don't
No.
care because
Yeah.
you love it.
Yeah. It
That's
makes
it. That's the
sitting at the
answer.
desk like this really comfortable
Yes.
and easy. I
Yeah.
mean, literally move however I want to move, and I'm not sucked in tight anywhere. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, this has been so good. I think we've had such a great conversation. Is there anything you feel like we've kind of missed on or like feels a little incomplete or something that you feel like you want to share?
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot of
Yeah,
topics and a lot of good different angles. Yeah,
it was
I think
good.
we did it.
I know. We didn't talk, I mean, we talked briefly a little bit about what it is that you do and how you work with people. Would you mind just sharing with people a little bit more of where people can find you, what kind of work they could do with you, all of those types of things?
Yes. So they can find me at Renae Saager on Instagram or my website. I also have a podcast that I've just changed the name to as of last week to the Renae Saager Show. So it's Renae Saager all around. You can find me on all of the things. And I help women with binge eating and emotional eating and self confidence. So if any of those are things that your listeners struggle with, I can most likely help with that.
Yeah. Sounds so good. Renae, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
It was such a pleasure. And I mean, I'm sure we'll stay in touch. This was fun for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.